Welcome everybody to another episode of Terrain Studio. I'm your host, Shawn Morris. Today on the Terrain Studio, I have for you another unboxing. This box here was a package that I mentioned in yesterday's update, one that I was expecting at the post office. It was the package that I was expecting, so typically I pre-unpack things just to make it faster, but I thought let's be surprised together and see what's in the box. So without further ado, let's crack into it. On first inspection, the box is a little bit, banged up, but let's hope the contents are intact. Just trying a slightly different camera angle today, so we'll see if it's any worse. I know there's some shadow from the back. Hopefully that doesn't prove to be too problematic. So I'm just gonna turn my lights out here a little bit. There we go. Okay, so let's maybe move the box, give ourselves a little working room. First item that we have, nicely wrapped, so I don't foresee there being any damage at all to these items. I'm not sure how long this video is going to be, so it'll be as long as needed, I guess. Wow, wonderfully wrapped. Okay, so bonus points if you know the company and the building. These are the Total Battle Miniatures buildings. If you've seen them, any of my previous videos, you'll know that I'm a huge fan of the company and a huge fan of the buildings. Actually, this is the whole line, or basically the whole line, but in the destroyed version. So I have the intact versions and now the destroyed ones. So these are for an upcoming table, for the winter table, the foy table. So as you can see, they do come pre-painted. A lot of damage on the inside here, modeled damage, not damage from shipping. You know, collapsed roofs and doors and windows and floorboards tore up and chimney stacks, chopped off. And now certainly you can place miniatures in these, and then on the underside they're vaulted for miniatures on the bottom as well. So you can get two medium miniatures on the bottom as well. So you can get two medium stands in here and then on the second floor. So although they're damaged, unlike typical the damaged format, you actually still have your multiple floors. So that's one of the difficulties with using damaged buildings, is typically the distance to the bottom is very high. So it's hard to get your models out once they're in. With this here, having it modeled as a collapsed floor, but still have the distinct floors, it gives you a real clear advantage, or it makes them more playable in terms of the capacity that they hold. So that's the damaged one there. I believe, by looking, I think this is the damaged cafe. Seems that's the stature of the building. Open up the next one. Here is a copy of a building that's not damaged, obviously. So like I said, these are for customer tables, so I had to get some second copies and things like that. So again, the painting of the building is awesome. They have a lot of two-tone, a lot of shading. There's distinct levels to the building, and there's distinct painting on that. The roofs are nicely weathered and multiple colors. You have door and window trim, well done. So they really do a great job in terms of painting the building. So I continue to use them just because I think they're one of the best in the biz. This looks like the gatehouse, and this is the intact version. So there you are with the gatehouse, one of my favorite builds. Vaulted interior, so you can hold two medium stands or four small stands. Again, it's got the nice brickwork. It's got some exposed lighter areas here. As you can see, hopefully the camera picks that up. So there's some nice shading, and again, a little bit of weathering on the roof. And it's a pretty simplistic building, but it's nice, in particular as a building on the outskirts kind of thing. So it's the gatehouse. It's like a blockhouse building. Next up, Looks like the barn, maybe? Play a little guessing game as I try to look through the... nope, I was incorrect. This is the farmhouse. This is the destroyed version, obviously. So you have, you know, the intact doorway. Still, they've done something clever. They've actually created enough space in the rubble to still fit the base, and it will sit relatively flat. So although it looks kind of distorted and, you know, destroyed on the inside, there is still room to fit your base there. So you're not losing any capacity to the buildings with the destroyed look, which is really kind of cool. And this exposed brickwork here on the side with the stucco stuck to half of it is a nice feature. And then you even have here the dual layer of brick is actually exposed. So you have the interior brick layer and then the second brick layer. So that's kind of a nice touch as well. And here we have the intact farmhouse. So the before and after, I guess you could call it. So there you are. And these are just kind of a generic house, so it's nice to have. Now they have you know, done different colorations to the doors and things like that, so they're not exactly the same. And I think they're unique enough in terms of you know, the destroyed versus the intact that they won't appear very glaring on the table. You're not going to say, oh, there's two identical buildings, kind of thing, especially if you separate them. So nice, nice, nice. Next up, this appears to be a portion for one of the buildings. Yes, I think these are for the cafe. These are two little added pieces. This is a little courtyard patch here, and then here's a little brick pattern. It just goes on the back of the cafe. I'm not sure if I ordered an intact one, but I'll just kind of show you what you do with them here. They just go onto the back of the building there, and you can incorporate that if needed, and if you don't need it, there's nothing to say that it has to go on there. So it's not like it's unfinished or anything like that. It's just an added feature that you can include. So I can't quite remember if I ordered the intact one or not. Time will tell, I guess. Next up is the destroyed church. Now this is a small rural church, so it's a very small in terms of churches or ones you may have seen on other tabletops. But I do like the fact that it is nice and small. Sometimes a church can really dominate a tabletop. For example, the Crescent Root Church, which is very impressive. It serves more as a central focal point to a table or a centerpiece to a table. This church here is a little more subtle. It's a little diminutive in stature, and it's something that you can incorporate into a small town setting without having to dominate the tabletop. So it achieves what I want this piece to achieve. And if I was looking for something, you know, more substantial, I would certainly go with another church from a different company. But this one's really cool, and the bombed out one is in particular kind of neat. So again, you get the inside here, you get the large beams, you know, sticking up, and you can really tell that it's been through some heavy bombardment. So you have your collapsed steeple here, but still able to fit a stand in. So really kind of impressed with this. And if you've seen the intact ones, you're going to know that they're a lot more bright and vibrant and things like that. I noticed a lot of the rubbled pieces are a lot more subdued. They have a lot more heavy weathering on them, and they've lost their sheen and their shine and their, you know, the pristine look of the building, which they should be. They're rubble after all. So I really like how the paint schemes have been toned down on these. So next up, small but difficult to get into. This is the barn, the intact barn. Again, pretty simplistic one. Still holds two medium stands here. Pretty simplistic, you know, basic plain walls here. single entry, and then you have the barn entry door here. So works nicely in conjunction with a small farmhouse or just as a standalone piece in a field. So something I've used on a few tables, and obviously I have a liking for that. Whoa, careful, careful, careful. Try not to cut too deep to scratch, but I guess I should careful I don't cut my own hands. Okay, so we do have a slight piece of damage on here. Just a little bit of chipping there, so it appears that one of the window struts, just a small little piece here, might have got caught on a piece of bubble wrap or something, but it's been wore away. Not going to be too problematic since it is on a destroyed building, and it's going to fit back in and glue nicely, so I just got to do a little touch up. That's not going to be the end of the world or ruin my day in any respect. So here we have battle damage on the end, so shell pop marks here, a collapsed upper floor. These are shops down here. Vaulted interior, so you can hold looks like up to 4 medium stands across this one, and likewise at the top. So the buildings, although they're not really that big in size, let's put a ruler on here, so it's a little under 15 centimeters. You're still holding 8 stands in a building this size, so they do a nice job of making them very compact and you know, easy to use in terms of moving models in and out. So certainly with no roof in place as well. All right, so that one, a little bit of repair. We have 2 left, and these are all going on one table, as I mentioned. So I don't know what that gives us total. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 for a table, and I think that's a nice number. 8 to 10 is something I usually try to achieve. This is the warehouse piece. So here you have, typically it's 3 doors here, 1, 2, 3, and there's a little crane sticking out, and you know, you ferry things up to the top floor, but as you can see, the entire upper floor has been collapsed here. You do have some roof portion still remaining. The underside again is vaulted, so you can hold up to 4 medium stands there. Looks like maybe 3 across the top here, just because you do have this central section here that's still intact and it's solid. In terms of just kind of looking at the inside, it's a little bit different interior here. It looks almost like there's been like sacks or crops and things like that, so I think that's what that's supposed to signify, instead of the building structure itself. What's kind of nice is, or kind of a nice feature I was going to mention was there's some signage here on the back typically, and then you can see where just the remnants of that signage is. So just even though most of it's gone, just the hint that that was once you know, had a display on the side is a nice added feature. So that's kind of cool. Just little touches like that. So we have a 2, 4, 5 destroyed and 4 intact. And I think this is, and I was going for mainly a destroyed look, but I figured all destroyed may be a little bit over the top, so I did want to go with a few standing buildings. So we have 4 destroyed, or sorry, 4 intact and 6 on the destroyed side. Here we have another one of the shops, and you're going to notice here again, in the destroyed portion, the doors and the windows are all blown out and missing. There's bits and pieces here, stairs, bunch of timber and stuff laying in here, and then you have the full intact end here. Again, vaulted on the bottom. Again, vaulted on the bottom so you can fit multiple units in. Stands up here as well. So again, overall really nice and more subdued, more you can really get the effects, or you can really feel the effects of this destroyed look. I'm just going to quickly grab something. So here we have another piece by them, and this is again an intact piece. So I'm just going to hold the two up to the camera, so you can kind of get the effects. You can sort of tell the tones are far more dull and drab on the destroyed version versus the nice, pristine, clean-looking buildings. And so when I talk about that, that's really what I'm getting after. So you can really see that they've achieved a nice bombed out, burned out look without going over the top and, you know, blackening everything. So well done. I think they look excellent, and I'm sure they'll look great on the table. Another really neat thing about the table is that the fact it's going to be a snow table. So a lot of these interiors, you know, a lot of these interior walls and rooftops and stuff, I'll be able to mix sort of snow and sleet and ice kind of in these. So, you know, some buildups in the windows, perhaps indicating they were destroyed previous, and, you know, weather patterns have moved in the area, and, you know, maybe filling some of the interiors with snow. Maybe even some dugout marks where you can see that people have been moving through the buildings after snowfall and such will be kind of a nice touch. So I think with the combination of the snow and the sort of the thaw look and the destroyed sooty feel to the buildings, I think it's going to be a nice project. So I look forward to doing that. If you're waiting for that, don't hold your breath, because it's going to be likely after Christmas that I get to that. I gotta